What's going on, guys? It's Aramay with the Extra Reverb podcast. Great to be back in here. Got an amazing guest for you today. I've been very excited about having him on. Sanjay Hegde, um, founder and president of Blue Ring Investors. They do a lot with helping people diversify their portfolios, mainly with real estate, is my understanding. So I'm very excited to see his take on where the market is and what kind of investments that they prefer to do with people and how they help people out. Sanjay, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. I really appreciate you having me on your podcast. I hope I will be able to bring some value to your listeners
Of
and
course.
rock and roll.
Awesome. You before we get into it, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What's your background?
Well, born and raised in India, moved to the United States in 2001. Been in North Carolina since then. Before my even though my educational background is pharmacy, back in India, I wasn't able to transfer that over here into the United States, because of which I had to take up some other jobs, a W-2 job out here, nothing to do with what my education was in.
Huh.
Um, it so ended up happening is I couldn't go back to college over here because I was newly married. And when I came to the United States in 2001, February 21st, I still remember the date. We were newly married. I didn't have a job at that time. It was cold outside. So, it's a perfect recipe for making babies. So,
Yeah.
my wife was pregnant, and now I have to go look for a job. And, I said, okay. There was this company called SAF that manufactured lithium batteries for space and defense.
Okay.
And I started on the floor, working at $7.25 over there. God was very good to me. I had opportunities to grow within the company. Started from $7.25, started growing within the company, making, six-figure salaries. And then later on, was the director of sales for Americas and Asia. Then a competitor hired me as the vice president of sales and marketing, and so on, until in you know 2016 is when my son was driving around. He was in high school at that time, and he got into an accident. And
Sorry to hear
me, no, nothing bad happened. But I was in Japan at that time, and that was kind of like aha moment for me, trying to figure out like you know, I need something called as time freedom, something that I would be able to do things at my own pace and not be worried. Um, because I never felt like I was ever there for my son or even my daughter. But then, other than that, my wife was like, "Hey, I feel like I'm a single mom. You're never home because
that.
I'm always traveling, right?" So with that, I said, okay, I need to do something. Somebody talked to me about investing in real estate. So I said, okay, I was making money. So I put money into real estate, buying single family homes. Then later on, one day I was traveling, I heard something about, you know, uh, how you can self-directed IRA kind of a thing. And
Yeah. Okay.
I called that gentleman. I said, where am I going to invest that money now? He's like, well, have you heard of multifamily? I said, yeah. He said, how do you think these rental properties come? It's called syndication. I'm like, okay. So I invested in syndications, that and self storage. And I started seeing some money coming in. That grew my curiosity to understand more about the business. So I went to RE Mentor, their mentorship program, joined that, and got started later on with Blue Ring Investors.
Wow. That is quite the story. Kind of the American dream a little bit, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I always tell this to everybody that, probably most of the Americans don't notice this, but, we are very fortunate to be in this great country. It gives you so many opportunities.
100%. 100%. So you came from India in 2001,
Yeah,
February.
yeah.
Wow, you just made it in, huh? That was a
Yep.
tough time to be here, huh?
Well,
Um,
my parents were here, my sister was here, so it wasn't that difficult. They were there to support me,
sure.
but still, a man needs a job when, especially if he's having a baby coming in the way. So yeah,
Right. I just mean like, pre 9/11 was probably a lot easier than if it had been like October. You what probably might not have happened, right? I mean, that's you know,
yeah, yeah. That would
everything.
have, yeah. It happened that same year that we had come, and that would have been a little bit of, that would have definitely been difficult for us. But
Yeah.
because we were coming in as a green card holders, because my parents were citizens and they had sponsored me, it
Okay.
was, yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's kind of a everything happens for a reason kind of take, right?
I,
So
I
there's a lot there I'm really curious about. You got a really interesting story. So your parents were here, but you were
Yeah,
in India still.
yeah.
When did they come over here?
So they came here in mid 90s, like basically, I think early 90s actually, uh, 19, 1990 time frame.
Okay.
Right.
So why didn't they bring you initially, if you don't mind me asking?
No, 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 you can definitely ask. So basically, what happens is my sister was the one who had first come to the United States. And then later on, she sponsored my parents. And then my parents sponsored me. But I could have come I couldn't come with them as their dependent because I'd already passed the legal age.
Oh,
Mhm.
gotcha. So you were already like adult.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
That makes more sense. Very interesting. So being in India, I want to get up with the real estate and investing stuff here in a minute, but the um in coming from India, I'm a big believer in all types of spirituality and Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, it all has a lot of truth to me and I can identify with a lot of it. And I've done a lot of reading, Hindu books and things like this. Is it something that you practice still, or is that something coming from India? Is that what your belief system is? Where do you fall in that category?
Now, I'm a Hindu
That's
by birth.
awesome.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. And is that something you still kind of follow, or has being in America changed that?
No, we still follow that in our house. Now, my kids, they have different things, you
Yeah.
know. So to me, it is like, you know, just because you're born in a certain, faith, you don't have to, everybody has the right to choose what they want to do.
Yeah.
So, it is up to them. The only thing I always tell my kids is only one thing. It doesn't matter what religion you choose or you choose not to choose a religion, that's absolutely okay. Uh, Being a good human is more important. So,
Yes. 100%, which is something, that really initially drew me personally to studying those, Hinduism, Buddhism, all that, is that there's nothing there that says this is right and everything else is wrong. It's not there. It's basically saying that everything is saying the same thing, you know in a large overview of it, large brushstroke of it. And that's kind of what drove me away from, not drove me away, but maybe I always, growing up with Christianity, I was like, they're always like, if you don't find Jesus, you're going to hell. And I'm just like, that can't be, like, that just seems so off to me. That can't, such a, because I'm like, this guy, so the Buddhist monk in On the Mountain, that literally devotes his entire life to getting closer with God, he's going to hell because he didn't find Jesus. And it just makes no sense to me. I'm like, there's no chance. Uh, you know, but that's what I really love about it. It's just like, it's so accepting of everyone and everything. And it's just very, anyway, I wanted to touch on that a little bit. Um, so can you tell me, I'm interested because we're at a time right now where immigration is a large issue in America and how it should be and how it should be dealt with. And I know so many, so in a former life, I played professional tennis. So I've been all over the world, met a ton of people, and I know so many people that have come here the way you have and which I consider the right way to do it, right? And they just love this country and they want to help contribute to being American. And I just think that that's an amazing thing. But then you get the other side of it where people are doing it the wrong way. And it's, which there's a necessity to some of those people too. And I think that there should be an easier path. How easy was it for you guys? And what was the process like of coming here? Was it an easy transition? Did it take a lot of time?
So, no, very good question. So, compared to a lot of them, it was much easier for me. I would have to say that
Mm-hmm.
because obviously, my sister was a citizen who
Right.
sponsored my parents, and my parents then, when they turned citizens, they sponsored me. So, but during this entire process, well, they sponsored me when they were green card holders itself. But what happens is the category changes when you're in a certain bucket when your parents are green card holders versus when they are citizens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it took me about 7 years to get here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was all by myself for 7 years in India. But at the end of the day, it's just a matter of time. It takes the processing time. There's a huge queue in there. There are a lot
Sure.
of people applied for it, right?
Oh, yeah, I imagine.
Uh, so that's what it is. It's just waiting. So compared to a lot of people, it was a lot more easier for me.
Yeah.
Um, like a lot of people come here for jobs and then they come on their H1 visa. It's difficult sometimes to get over here.
Yeah.
Many of them come here as students and then try to find a job here and then stay around. That becomes a challenge sometimes. So compared to that, yeah, it was a much easier thing.
Yeah. And I think nowadays too, even like that, like you said, with that, the visa, especially for countries like India and that, they come here and it's because there's a lot of tech jobs. And I know they hire a lot of people, a lot of
Yeah,
talent from overseas to come here. But yeah, see, that's 7 years though. That's a long time. I mean,
it was.
so I just think that a lot of the things that would be solved with people coming illegally and all that. I think if it was a faster, like we've got the technology to breeze through people, I think, and I think AI is going to help with that. But I think that it could be more streamlined, and then people wouldn't feel this need to have to try to come here illegally if it didn't take 10 years, you know. Um,
Well, I think there is a system behind it, and I really don't think it is right for anybody to come illegally. I
right,
understand it's nothing. It's no different than somebody breaking and entering into your house, right? Yeah,
right.
they need the money. They want to steal it. That's the problem to it, right? So you cannot just
Exactly.
break into my house. That's not. I understand. Your challenge is you need money. That doesn't make it legal, right? So
Right. It's funny because that's almost the consensus of everyone that I know that is a legal immigrant here is there. It's like basically like, man, it's like when they want people to be stay here illegally, it's like spitting in your face kind of indirectly. And it's just like it can be done. You just need to do the right things and it can be done. But I'm sure people have other ulterior motives or there's criminal aspects to it also and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, moving on from that, I'm thank you for answering that question because I've always wondered, I always like to get perspectives of people that have immigrated here and what that process is like. So when you first came, you said you were in pharmacy
yeah.
and you couldn't transfer your education here. Why was that?
Because there are two different things, right? One is basically here, what you do is it's basically it's a doctorate in pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have that similar. Like you have for that, you have to do your master's in pharmacy, which I didn't do. So
Okay,
that then could be kind of done. But
gotcha.
I would have to come here and redo my education. That's what would have to do
Oh, completely.
completely. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask,
I would have
did
got
you ever
some
consider?
credits. I would have got some credits, but I have to still, yeah.
Okay. So that probably took away from the consideration of getting, your doctorate here or something. You would have had to start over.
Yeah.
If you didn't, would that be something you would have considered?
Well, if my son was not born, I think I had a better chance at that time, I guess.
Yeah.
of actually going for that education side of things. But then, it's very weird. Like a lot of people go to jobs and still do their education side of things as well. But I was so I don't know, should I say it was very interesting. So I come here in February. I get a job in the month of May as a temporary person. August, I become permanent over there. Then 9/11 happens. There is an opening for a maintenance mechanics job. So I apply for that. Then 1 year into it, I become a mechanics helper. And then I learn how to do all these things. And then they promote me as a full blown mechanic on a second shift. Then in say around 2005 timeframe, early 2005, there was an opening for a production supervisor. So I applied for that job. I get that job. And then, to make the ends meet when I was a maintenance mechanic, I was doing all of my second shift, half of third shift, and half of first shift. So that
Wow.
was taking a lot of my time. And then I got this job as a production supervisor. Then, right in that year itself, just before Thanksgiving, I get a job as sales rep for the northeastern region. And the following year, in 2006, the manager leaves, and then they promote me as the sales manager for North America. And then in 2011, they promote me as the director of sales for Americas and Asia. So my progress was going on so quick
Yeah.
that I just didn't think about doing anything else.
That's a quick climb up the ladder. You must have been a rock star.
Uh, I don't know about that, but there was a lot of hard work involved in it. I can tell you that
Yeah.
much.
And how old were you at this time?
So when I came over here, it was I was close to 30.
Okay. So you're in your
Yeah,
30s when you started
yeah,
getting traveling around. And then obviously when you were that once you got into the sales portion, you were going all over the world, it sounds like.
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you had the perspective to say, I want to be with my family more and I need to make a change. I think that's awesome. Was your wife the main driver of that, or was that something that you all like were like, okay, enough, like enough's enough?
No, I think I am where I am. It's all because of my wife. She was very, very
Smart
supportive,
answer.
right? She was very supportive of everything that I did. There were so many wedding anniversaries I had missed. In fact, one day I made my travel itself as a wedding anniversary gift, where I said, "Okay, hey, I wanted to," because she was like, "This is the third wedding anniversary you're going to be missing, right?" So I was like, "Okay, I wanted to surprise you." But I told her, I said, I wanted to surprise you. She said, "What is that surprise?" I said, "Well, we're going to London, and from London, we are going to Paris." She's like, "Oh, wow, that's so sweet." The
Oh.
thing is, I had a meeting in London, so I went there, I did that meeting. Then I took her around, and then I had to go to Paris. So we went to Paris. Um, that's where our corporate was in Paris. So took her there, and
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, man.
she was very supportive. It's just that I just felt I had come to a certain thing in my life where I was like, man, my kids have all grown, and I'm not there for them. But then my daughter was still young at that time, so I felt like, hey, no, she'll be 16 this year. But at that time, I said, hey, let me see if I can spend more time with her
Yeah,
and be there for her than my. So that's pretty much what it was.
sure. That's awesome, man. Because I mean, that's honestly all the other things aside, in my opinion, the most important thing is to be there, and that's kind of why I got into the things that I do is for that freedom to be like, look, if nothing else, my kids are going to say that I was there. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
So
and
I always look at this as an analogy. Like, I always tell them, you said a very important thing just now. It's like we are like, jugglers. We juggle five balls at a time, and of which three balls are something that bounces back, and two are made of glass, right? So the
Mhm.
first three are like business, your friends, and money, like, wealth, car, or whatever you want to talk about. You drop it, it'll come bounce back. It's just a matter of
I
time.
like that.
Your family and your health is like the glass balls, right? they fall down, they break, and you cannot get it back. So those two are very important things that one has to pay attention to.
Sure, 100%. And I think some people lose sight of that a little bit because it's like for me, when my kids grow, like right now, I would rather maybe miss out on some money and be there and hang out with them while they still like me. And then when they, when they get older and they're gone, then it's like I'll have all this time. I can work as much as I want, right?
Sure.
Yeah, assuming that that's how it goes, assuming I'm around. But it's to me that was always like, I can do this instead of I feel like in America, it's that way. Like you got to do that, then you're gonna retire, and then your life starts, and you can actually do this. And I just don't think that's how it should be. And I think there's a shift in that with the way we're going. A lot of technology, more people starting their own businesses. You're not seeing as many employees necessarily. People are investing and trying to get financial freedom, which is something that I definitely want to dive into during our talk here today with what you do. But it's what you're saying there with the juggling of the balls and all that. Is that something live? I'm just out of curiosity, out of both places you've lived, is that something that's more prevalent in America than it is other places to you?
But Americans by nature are really great at parenting compared to when it comes down to
Really?
India. Yeah, I'll say this. The reason is because most of the time in India, the parents are, yes, they're very dedicated, but everything is towards that, two things. One is to make the ends meet, and the second is to make your child into either a doctor, engineer, pharmacist, or something like that, right? So
Sure.
they spend a lot of their money on their education side of things, and to make that happen, and India being such a huge population, getting a job out there is very difficult, right? So there's a scarcity of jobs out there. So people, when they get a job, they work long hours, they would do everything possible. It's the same thing in Japan, right? They spend long hours working. In here, at least the parents, hey, my son has a soccer game, I'm going.
Yeah.
My daughter has this, I have to go, right? So they really take part in that. I don't remember seeing my father at my sports meet or anything like that because he was busy working. And for us, it was normal. For us, it was like, okay, he's my mother also was working. So for us, it was like, well, they're working, they're earning money so that we could have a better life. Because
Right.
when you see a lot of poverty around you, if you don't have social services taking care of certain things for you, like, oh, you if you don't have a job, you're not getting anything, unemployment or anything like that,
Sure.
and so on. So there is quite a few. There are reasons behind why they are the way they are, but
Mhm.
comparatively, most of the American parents take their time for their kids.
Yeah. Interesting, because it's not projected that way here a lot of times. There's it's projected of work first mindset, which I think again is shifting, but that's very interesting to think that way. And it's I definitely know about a little bit about the education over there. I had some friends, from India, and you guys they make you pick like what you want to study and what you want to go into pretty early on, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's always like that. That's why when it came down to my son, I was a little bit surprised. I was scared. I'm still scared, but that's a different story because my son wanted to graduate in movie making,
Okay.
and it's like because he wants to become a movie director. And I was like, is it like, do you get a job for that? Like, how does that work? And he's like, well, it's sometimes it's a contract kind of a thing. There is no regular pay kind of a thing to it. It's
Hmm.
very different. And I'm like, well, if only he was a doctor or an engineer or so, he would at least get a job, right? But but then for me, it was like, hey, I'm not going to pick things for him. I would like him to be happy in what he's doing. I want
Right.
him to pick what he wants to do. And because they say that when you enjoy what you're doing, it's not work, right?
Right.
So,
100%.
and he was so passionate about it. I just said, okay, fine, that's what you do. So he just graduated this year.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah.
he's is he going out to Hollywood or I don't know how it works anymore. I'm sure you can do everything from your computer these days.
Yeah, he's planning on going to New York and try his luck over there.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's awesome. Maybe we'll watch one of his movies one day.
yeah, hopefully.
or Netflix show or whatever it is now. That's the
Exactly.
I think
Right.
that'd be the way to go. Get a Netflix series, and that's the steady income, right? Uh,
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so. But the thing is, the world is opened up so much nowadays. There are so many ways to make money, and I don't think
Absolutely.
the kids these days care so much about how it used to be for us when we were growing up. Oh, you need to get married, you need to have a house, you need to have a steady job, and then kids. Kids these days, I think the environment has changed. Not many people want to get married these days. Not many people want to have a house anymore. They want to be able to just pick up their bag and get out at any time they want.
Hmm.
So I think the culture has changed dramatically over the period of time. And so has the way it's like, I don't know a lot of people actually pay a lot of attention towards, I want to become very wealthy. I think the shift has become to like, I want to be happy,
Yes.
doing what I like to do and so on. So it's a different mindset.
It's a great in that regard, it's an awesome shift. I think there you definitely see that a lot more of there are obviously people that are money driven. I'm not one of them, but it's you got to enjoy what you're doing. And like you never really work. And
Yeah.
it's but the other not having the kids, I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of people they don't want to get married and have kids. One, it's very expensive now, as you know, but it's and I'm learning. It's but also, it's you got declining birth rates all over the place. I think that needs to shift back in the other direction because it's not looking good in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Um, including here. And it kind of makes you wonder where do we go from there, and people don't want to have children. It's like, when do we start manufacturing children with all this science? And it's crazy. They're bringing back extinct animals and getting rid of genetic mutations. And it's only a matter of time. Right.
Life is a cycle, right? So it always comes back. It's just a matter of time.
Right.
We've been wired in such a way that when we get to a certain point, we shift our focus, right? So it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. It's just a cycle. So
Yep. 100%. I remember, at 20, 22, whatever. Well, I'm never having kids. Yeah, right. Sounds terrible. And then, by the time you're 30, you're like, I want kids. And now I want more kids. And it's once I have them, I'm just like, I want more kids. So back to you. And so you were working this job. You got a great position, pretty high up in the sale with doing sales. And then what was your first dip into investing? What drew you to that? Did something draw you to that, or did someone approach you with an opportunity? When did that shift happen?
no, I said I was making more money and I was traveling. And
Mhm.
obviously, when you're traveling, it's all office expense.
Right.
My wife, she got to college and she did her nursing, and
Okay.
there was another income coming in. So, what do you do with money is the thing, right?
Right.
So, because if you keep it in the bank, it's not going to get you anything, right?
100%.
So, might as well invest, right? So, people always has told me, right, like you cannot go wrong when you invest in real estate, right?
That's
So,
still true.
and that's the thing. So, and it has a lot of tax benefits, right? So I said, okay, that's pretty much what got me into that. And obviously, when it went into a high gear when my son, got into this accident situation. So those were the two big drivers for me.
Oh, okay. So when you say your son's accident kind of drove, if you don't mind me uh, digging into that a little bit, well, how did that get you more into investing? What about that?
Because to me, I was not there. So I wanted to be
I
there.
gotcha.
So I wanted to have time freedom. So I said, okay, how do I do that? It's like you start investing money and then you start your own things. So I said,
Mhm.
okay, first I started investing in single family homes. Then I started investing in multifamily homes and self storage and so on. And I started seeing money coming in. So that kind of intrigued me, saying, because first thing I thought about was like most of the Indians, right, open a liquor store. And liquor stores in North Carolina are all state-owned, so I couldn't do that. Then the next best thing we can think about is 7-Elevens, right? So that was my second thought in my head.
Yeah.
But I have a childhood friend of mine who lives in Pittsburgh, and he called me. He said, he used to run to a gas station. So I called him. I said, hey, his name was Ajit. I said, hey, Ajit, what do you think about this one? He's like, Sanjay, don't put your hands into this one, man. It's not for you. There's a lot of challenges that comes with it and so on. So I said, okay, what's the next thing that I could think about? I was like, real estate is a good thing. I've been passively investing in some of them. Single families, I've been investing actively. So, but I was seeing more money coming in from the passive income than I was with the active income, because you have the headaches of something gets breaks down, you got to fix it, and all of those other challenges, right? And your
Sure.
money is short, right? The HVAC goes down, it pretty much wipes up your entire income that you had, right?
Right.
To me, I felt multifamily was the way to go, and self storage was the way to go, and that's why. And I saw that Ari Mentor had come down to Charlotte to for they had. So I signed up for their boot camp, and when I signed up for the boot camp, I went and I said, okay, this teaches you just enough to get dangerous enough to lose everything. So because they show you the highlights of things, and they teach you how to underwrite, but that's not what it is. So I took up their mentorship program and did it for a year to get a good understanding about the business. Also use that time to network with people and so on, and
Sure.
get to know their ideas about the business, and then jumped into it.
Okay. So while you were doing that, you were still doing your sales job,
Yes.
also.
Mhm.
Okay. So how
Mhm.
long did it take for you to say, okay, I can quit doing this and just focus on the investing?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when I jumped into this full time, it was in 2021.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I
So
also
just
still
recently.
had, yeah, and I still had my um, consultancy kind of a thing going on. The good part about, I always say this, that God puts you in a place for a reason, and He walks you through things for a reason. So, as I said, when I started off on the floor in the dry room. Then I was, doing the maintenance and so on, and I grew within the company. There are very few people in this industry, in the battery industry, who have gone through the journey that I have, which has given me a good, strong base. And which when I give a consultancy to a factory, I can give them from nuts to soups, the entire thing,
Yeah.
including the markets and so on. So I do that consultancy as well on the side. That
Okay.
also helps you.
Great. That's very interesting. So you started off single family, and why did you choose that as your starting point?
That's the easiest way, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Because the thing is, first of all, I had no knowledge about syndication at that time. That was another thing. If only I had known that, I would have never done single family.
Okay. Very interesting. And so for those listening, can you break down syndication for us and why that's better?
Yeah. So when you do syndication, what are you doing? First of all, you're not doing it by yourself. That's number one, right? You have partners when you do this. You have two, three partners. One, so you work on each other's strengths. You work on that one. So that's one. Number two is you're using other people's money, right? So that way you can scale up much faster, right? So what are the investors are coming in for? They're coming in as passive investors. They don't have to do anything. They just have to invest and forget, and then just get the dividends, right?
Right.
So they get the mailbox money, they're happy, right? So that's one of the things. What is it for us on our side? It helps us to, like, if you take single family homes, you got to go to the bank, you have to take a recourse loan, and so on, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in multifamily, we take a non-recourse loan, right? And we leverage the bank's interest rates and everything to actually make the apartment profitable and run it efficiently and give everybody the dividends. Pretty much. I want to be strictly SEC compliant over here, but
Sure.
we try from a 30,000-foot view. We, as a company of Blue Ring Investors, we do not go after any uh, project unless we can give our investors a minimum of 6 to 7% cash on cash,
Oh wow.
and a 20% annualized rate of return, which is pretty much we 2x their money.
Yeah, that's very good. No, that's a very good return here. Now, what would be obviously it's a more I understand that it's a more secure investment, as in when you're investing in real estate and over time, you're not going to see the ups and downs like you do in the market. Is that something when you're dealing with people? Is that one of your points of highlight, or what is your take in terms of if someone's looking to start investing and they maybe have heard, oh, I want to go in the stock market. That's the first thing people think about when they think about investing, right? What would be your advice to somebody like that?
Well, I don't give advices to anybody, but
Yeah,
my
or your two
suggestions would
cents.
be, yeah, my 2 cents would be this. The thing is, whether it is your 401k or anything, when you talk about investments, right, you're looking at stocks and bonds. That's pretty much what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very volatile kind of a market. Elon Musk just having a picture where he's smoking pot can drop his stock
Right.
like crazy, right? So the share market is it's a very very it's like a casino, right? You're gambling on that one. When it comes down to real estate, it's a brick and mortar building. It has a certain value.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing as an investor, if you're going in to as a passive investor, you need to first focus on is the syndicator. Like who are the partners? What is their strengths? How successful have they been? Because it's a if you have a good operator, you can take even a mediocre property and make it very successful. But if you are a bad operator, you can take a really good product and make it really really bad.
Right.
So, that's the key things that I would say is a is it's a safer bet. I would say every investment comes with risks. So does in this one as well. But it is it's not as volatile as the stock markets are. It's a safer bet compared to that. And more than anything else, you have a lot of tax benefits that come through the now that Trump has also got that 100% depreciation back. That's a great
Yes.
thing, right? And
Yes.
from a real estate perspective, and also the cost segregations. Every year you get the K1s that you can apply towards all the earnings. So that's a great savings right there.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And now when you are looking for syndicators, or assuming you have the people that you work with all the time now, but initially, what kind of skill sets do you look for?
Well, the first thing, as let me ask that question, because when you say what kind of skill sets do you look for, is this for a syndicator to syndicator, or is it from investor to a syndicator?
Investor to a syndicator. So you say you want to find syndicators that you can utilize their skill sets. What are the
Correct.
various skill sets that maybe it might, this person's good at this person's good at that? What are you looking for?
Yeah. So basically, you have a whole bunch of questions that you got to really be asking as a syndicator, including their experience, how many cycles they've done, have they had any challenges before, have they done any kind of capital calls before, how, what kind of returns have they been giving to their investors, and so on. So
Okay.
those are I have a list of things that I have on my website that people can go to
Okay.
and actually take those questions. I have also written a book, and in that book itself, it's good for anybody who's just getting started in investing in with a
Okay.
syndicator.
Okay. So you wrote this book?
Yeah,
That's
yeah. It's
awesome.
a very simple book. I looked at it from a perspective of if somebody is who has zero idea about what syndication is about, or how do we make the money, how do we do things. It kind of captures all that. It's a very small 45-page book. I've kept it very simple, very easy to read, not very big. It was just something that I wanted people to know about if they wanted to get into it, but have zero idea about what syndication is.
That's awesome. I'll have to I'll definitely check that out. Now, so when you said 2021 was kind of when you went all in on this. Was that when you started Blue Ring Investors?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about the origins of Blue Ring Investors. Where did the idea come from? Who, did you have people that you wanted to? What was the origin of everything? How did it happen?
So Blue Ring Investors, actually, Blue Ring is a nebula.
Okay.
Okay. And the nebula is a lot of dust
Uh-huh.
out there in the galaxy that comes together and becomes a star. So if you look at my logo, you'll see there are a lot of pixels in there. So
Yes.
the pixels, which considered as dust, are actually each of them are apartments. So starting off with one small apartment, overall going into bigger, and one day it becomes a star. So that's pretty much Blue Ring came in for.
That's
Okay, that's
awesome.
Blue Ring. So that's Blue Ring Investors. So when I
Very
started, I
cool.
started alone, and then ended up where I was doing a lot of, just like this podcast, I was doing podcasts, and I was targeting audiences who were doctors. The reason I did that was because I also do consultancy for dentists, and that too happened by accident. One of my childhood friend, uh, she's a dentist, and she had come down to my house, and we were talking shop, and I asked her how things are going for her, and she was saying, "Well, I've done this, I'm doing this," and I said, "Okay, what kind of marketing are you doing?" And she, asked me about. Asked me if I can do that for her, and that's how I did it. But once I got into it, I figured that we see that we keep talking about doctors make a lot of money, they do this and that.
Sure.
It's a yes and no answer, because if you really look at it, when the time you become a doctor, you're in your close to 30s. That's number one. You're coming up with a lot of student loan. That's another thing. Then you want to get married because you're at that age, and once you get married, you want to have a house and a car, and then comes the kids.
Yeah.
When all of these are happening, you're still paying, your mortgage is going up, your expenses have gone up. Now you want to start your own business, obviously, because you want to be your own boss. Guess what ends up happening at that time? You put in more money to buy the practice. Now you're not getting younger by the age, so, and you are doing everything possible to make your patients feel comfortable. So you put yourself in a certain position to take care of them and so on,
Hmm.
which then turns out to repetitive motion that gets carpal tunnel. Then you get scoliosis and so on. So now if they want to retire, they cannot, because they have all these expenses, because they cannot have the same lifestyle that they're living,
Sure.
right? So for me, I felt them as to be my ideal investors. So I started going after podcasts that catered strictly to doctors. And one day I get a call. And from the call, it was my current partner, Dr. Jeanette Burnbach, who basically was like, "Hey, Sanjay, I heard your podcast." And that's pretty much how that happened. And
Okay.
we got to talk to each other, got to know each other better. She was already investing in multifamily properties. She also had some duplexes, and and she had taken one of these coaching classes on, real estate, but she wanted a partner, and that's how we partnered. And then
That's great.
later on, I had another partner called Catherine Ruiz. That came later on. She came in as more or less like a student one day. And she was like, "Hey, I've done this thing." And she's a broker in Florida. She's like, "I want to get into multifamily," and so on. So I said, "Okay, we all have our own set of things that we bring to the table." So a lot of my investors are doctors.
Okay.
And, I have a good, because Catherine also does a lot of fix and flips and so on. So those things were helpful.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So you're a master marketer, you're a salesman, you're a investor whiz. You got all the you got all the tricks, man. It's awesome.
Well, God takes you through the process, man. That's all it
Yeah,
is.
I totally agree with you. Everybody's always looking, as humans, we're very rarely um in the present. We're always looking at the past and looking at the future, but you gotta kind of stay here and just have faith that you're going where you're supposed to go. And sometimes your ego is not going to like it, but in the end you're going to go, wow, that's exactly how it should have happened. And
Yeah,
it's
I
amazing how
agree.
many times that happens to when you start thinking about it that way, when you actually have faith in God's plan for everybody. And a lot of times I'm like, man, in the moment you're like, this is not what I wanted. This is the worst thing ever. And then a couple years later, you're like, man, if that didn't happen, I would have never been able to do this X, Y, and Z. And it's pretty crazy. People let it, and it really relieves a lot of stress too when you look at it that way. When you're like, man, I trust it. I'm just going to go with it because it's all going to work out one way or the other.
But just the only thing is never lose hope and trust God, and just He has a plan. I always look at it as we are all His children, and He's not going to ever let us down. He'll make sure that He'll bring opportunities to us. There are times when, as you said, the ego, right? It's us who don't look at those opportunities as opportunities. We just either look at it as like, oh, that's not what I want. But sometimes you
Right.
just have to trust the process. He knows what is best for you, and he'll take it well.
100%, man. I do some leadership coaching in that, and I talk about it all the time. Trusting the process and always finding, never think of something, if something doesn't work out or if you fail, just always try to find the opportunity in it. Where's the opportunity? Even if it's an opportunity to learn, it's an opportunity to see where you need to improve. There's always a way to look at it, and it seems like you're very good at that. So, which is why you've seen the success here. So, you guys got together. You got Blue Ring Investors. I love how the story behind the name and the logo. That's really cool. You came up with that.
Yep.
That's very cool. So you must be pretty into like space and all that kind of stuff, huh?
Well, I do like astro. I like both astronomy as well as astrology.
Okay.
That's that I really like
No,
looking at things. So
I'm a big fan too. I'm a big fan of that. And, obviously I like to dive into, all the UFO conspiracy stuff with that. It's a lot of fun. It's fun. It's a
it
lot of
is fun. It is fun.
fun to speculate.
Well, the world, the cosmos is so big. We haven't reached out anywhere. Whatever little bit we know is whatever we know, but there is so much out there that we don't know, right? So
100%.
anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Yeah. It's fun. They said, I read a thing. It's math because it's so big. Obviously, to me, mathematically, it's impossible that there's not other life in the universe somewhere. It's just mathematically seems crazy that it wouldn't be, if the universe is what we think it is. Then but I read a thing where it's more statistically possible that there is an exact version of you somewhere else in the universe living the exact same life identically. Um, and that's more probable than not probable. It just blows my mind to think about that. um but we could nerd out on that for a long time. uh when you guys got going, what were some of your first investments? You got any highlights on what you were targeting? Did you know what you wanted to target? Did you have an area?
So, as I said, multifamily is about team sport, right?
Right.
So, and I said I was using the time when I was for a year while I was doing my mentorship to, build the network and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very blessed that I came across this gentleman called Jim Stewart, and he was one of the sponsors. And I called him. I happened to talk to him, and he was the first guy who gave me my first opportunity.
Okay. Tell
Since
me about it
uh,
if you
pardon
want.
me?
I said, tell me about it. What was the first
Oh yeah,
opportunity?
no, it was pretty simple. It was yeah, it was the opportunity was basically first when he asked me, "Hey Sanjay, I have this thing that's happening in Chattanooga. Would you be interested?" And because he asked me, he said, "Everybody has a superpower, right?" So he
Mm-hmm.
was like, "What's your superpower?" I said, "Well, Jim, I'm good at numbers. That's number one. I've managed P&Ls, for companies and so on. So I'm good with numbers. I can underwrite. But is that what I want to do? The answer is no, right? So he said, what do you enjoy doing? I said, I enjoy raising capital because I was trained for that. I like talking to investors. I was trained for that all through my thing because we
Yeah.
were a public company before, the ones that I used to work for.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, that's what I would like to do. So he was like, well, would you like to raise capital for one of my projects? I said, I wasn't very confident at that time because I hadn't done any raise until then. So I didn't know, right? So my first raise, I literally did nothing. I had zero raise. So I put my own money into the project as well, right?
Okay.
Uh, but then I realized eh, what are the things that I was doing wrong. And first of all, investors come when you can build them, build trust. And trust is something that comes with time. It takes,
100%.
you've got to earn it and it takes time. So I said, how do I make it more professional and everything? So I hired an actual marketing company. Earlier to that, I would go on Fiverr. I would try to ask somebody on Fiverr to do something like that,
Hmm.
and I would try to do things on my own. And it just did not work. So I said, okay, I need to really have a professional thing to be done. And that's when I hired this company called Orion Digital. It is in Pune, India, and we've been together since. They've been doing all my marketing and so on. Definitely went on podcasts, started building that, be on a lot of these events, be the subject matter expert over there. That
Yeah.
kind of builds confidence in people. So that's pretty much what I ended up doing. Then I went back to him. I said, I think I'm ready to raise capital now. And he gave me another opportunity. We closed on that really well. Then came the next one and the next one, and that's how we've been partners. So now today, as of for Blue Ring investors, we have close to 900 doors and a 580 self unit self storage.
Wow. That's awesome. So you have 580 different self storage
No,
facilities.
it's one building
Oh,
itself.
one. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's a climate control. Yeah.
Are you guys nationwide, or do you focus on just certain areas?
Well, so I'm a conservative person, both politically as well as when it comes down to,
That's fair.
when it comes down to business. So I only invest in red states mostly,
Okay.
uh, and the Sun
Good
Belt
idea.
area. It's again because nothing against anything else. Most of the blue states are tenant friendly, whereas most of the red states are owner friendly. So my properties are in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Texas. These are the areas that I focus on.
Okay. Was Florida in there? Did I hear Florida in there?
No, I try to stay away from Florida. It's because of the insurance and
Sure.
the floods and so on. To me, it's a very simple thing. If I cannot give my investors the kind of returns, then I just don't want to invest in it. And
Sure.
it comes with its own challenges and so on. A lot of the time, when I've seen in Florida, I've seen properties that are like pretty dated and very pretty old. Then it comes with their own issues, such as cast iron issues, aluminum wire issues, and so on. So
Hmm.
I like to focus on properties that are, within 1983 and up.
Okay.
So that's something that, 80 now I'm moving into 85 these days. So 1985 and up is what I do. And things where, I don't like where, I don't like to do heavy lifts. Not that we haven't done anything on, but I like to do what is called as micro repositioning, so
Okay.
that do some good things, make it a safer place, make it a place where people can, uh, raise their children in a more secure manner and live a good life. That's the main thing, because it reminds me of my days when I first came to America, and I started off in a rental house, and for me it was like, it doesn't matter how good you keep your house, but if your neighbor doesn't keep it right,
Right.
then it does affect you. So I always kept that in mind. Every property that we go to, we make sure that it's, the lightings are good all over, it's, lit well, security cameras are taken care of, and we bring in good people. That's the thing. Because to me it is like, kids who are raised in good neighborhoods and good community tend to become good citizens. And for me, this is an opportunity to give back to the community by actually doing the things that we do.
Sure. So when you buy a place, you guys go in and you renovate and upgrade and do all those kinds of things to it. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, Now, is that something to you that's a necessity? So, obviously you have a very high standard and high values, but are there, when people do this, I'm sure some people try to cut corners and just leave it, and that's probably not as successful a strategy, right? Because you probably charge more for tenants and all those kinds of things.
Yeah. So because you're uplifting that neighborhood itself, you're, because for us, it's you're building a community. And when you're building a community, you need a certain, standard that you set, make it affordable for people that they can stay there and so on.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So when we do things, we don't do anything half-ass. We try to make sure that we do it right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So when you go into places, I had another question, but I want to ask this one first. When you go into places, do you ever do you got how long do you hold on to them? Is there
3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years? Okay, why is that?
Well, because it takes about a year and a half pretty much to stabilize the property
Okay.
and making all the changes that is necessary. And then the cash flow starts coming in. So why do we say 3 to 5 years? Is because in that 5 year period, we would have improved the net operating income, and that improves the property value of the property. So, and why 3 years is because, say, if the market is really, really good, and now it is good, I'm not going to be stubborn and say, hey, I'm going to hold it for 5 years because I've committed to 5 years, right? If the
Yeah.
market is good, I'm able to 2x people's money, then why not just sell it in 3 years? But 5 years is what it normally, by the time you really get to that net operating income to 2x their money, that is where it comes down to. So it's just math.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. So my other question that I didn't want to forget to ask was how'd you guys do last year with all the storms and the flooding? Were you impacted by that at all? Where you're at?
Where I am? Oh, I thought you were asking about the property. No, where I am, we did have, you know, we had a flood, we had power outages, but with God's grace, nothing happened to our house or where we are.
Okay.
Um, there was a flood outside, and as soon as the water came down, I took my family away and got ourselves in a hotel,
Oh,
and
good.
we stayed there for 4 days till the electricity could come back.
Good. And all your properties were good, nothing
Yeah, nothing happened to any
affected.
of the properties.
That's
They were all, yeah, yeah.
that's great because I know that was wild last year, man.
Oh,
Especially
yeah.
down here, it was absolutely crazy. My in-laws live on the Gulf in Tampa, and they just got back into their house like a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had
Oh,
5 feet. They had 5 feet of water in their first
oh my
floor.
goodness.
It was, and they've been there for 30 years, and it never happened.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Wow.
and, and it wasn't even the one that directly hit here. It was the one that went up into the Carolinas and everything that caused all that up there. And it was just going by. It's the storm surge, and then the next one hit, and that one really impacted where we are. We're more inland. We're not on the water, but the wind. I'm been in Florida most of my life, so a hurricane's like okay, big deal. And you're like, whatever, we'll put up the shutters and but this one, it was kind of the one that hit here. It was, we always stayed my whole life for hurricanes. We never went anywhere. And I was in the panhandle. We had direct hits, been around a bunch of them, and we
Yeah.
never went anywhere. Power goes out for a little bit, it comes back on. But this one, I'll tell you, it was the winds were like 110 miles an hour. And I put up shutters except for on our big sliding glass door because it was under. I'm like, it's not gonna be, it's fine. And then we're eating dinner and I start seeing the glass on the sliding glass door like bowing in and bowing out and bowing in. I'm like, this glass could literally explode across the house. We go into my daughter's room and it sounded like you're on the tarmac underneath an airplane.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was like deafening, like a jet engine. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
So after that one, me and my wife were like, yeah, next time we're gonna we're gonna go somewhere. it was legitimately scary. We didn't have power for 2 days, but
Yeah.
luckily we're in a place where the flooding's not really an issue. It was just kind of wind damage kind of stuff, but our house was fine. But it was, yeah, that was definitely like a, when you have kids too, it's a little different. When it's just
Correct.
you, you're like, whatever, we'll ride it
Yep.
out. But with the kids too, we're like, this, we got to go somewhere next time. If hopefully it never happens, again, we need a break this year. Um, but anyway, so you guys, 3 to 5 years, you invest, you offload properties. So with Blue Ring investors, can you kind of tell me what your goals are, what your initiatives are in terms of who do you work with? What do you guys try to you try to 2x people's money? So you're constantly looking for investors. How often do you guys, I'm kind of asking a broad range of things here, but how often do you guys just buy properties without investors at this point, or you always get investors?
We always get investors.
Okay.
Yeah, because our properties are all like, you know, about 100 to 200 unit properties.
Okay.
And when you're going for something like that, you do need investors.
Okay. Definitely. So what are your kind of initiatives that you're looking for? You said you work with a lot of doctors. If someone wanted to get in with you guys, what's like the ground floor of being an investor?
Yeah, the first thing is, they can scan on this particular QR code,
Okay. Yeah, right here.
or go to my website, www.blueringinvestors.com, and they can schedule a call with me. We have, ways where they can schedule either a call with myself or Jeanette or Catherine, either one of us. So we can do that on Calendly. And then basically, they can also go to our website. We have an investor portal. They can get on our portal as well. They can create their own profile on that portal and see what is there right now, currently, where if we are raising any capital on any one of them, they can actually download all of those pitch deck and everything, and
Okay.
they can call us as well and ask, hey, I saw that you have an investment opportunity. Tell me a little bit about this. What is so good about this particular property that you're going after, and so on. We are an open book, and SEC compliant. So whatever they feel like asking, they can, and we'll walk them through it.
Okay. Now, when someone's investing with you, is there a when you're saying you're 2X, do they have to wait for you to sell the property, or is there residual income from tenants that is divvied up, things like that, to the investors? How does that work?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we pay two ways. One is the cash flow, so it's cash on cash, and the other one is after the sale, right?
Okay.
So what is cash on cash? Cash on cash is the profit that comes from the month-to-month operations of the property. So you get that, and then at the sale of the property, we usually do a 70-30 split or 65 35 kind of 60-40 split and so on. So we do that as well. So most of the time it's a 70-30 where 70% goes to our investors, 30 comes down to us,
Okay.
right? So when that happens, so to keep the math very simple, say for example, um, we an investor invests about $100,000, right?
Hmm.
So we say we would have said that we will be giving them 7% cash on cash. So that would be $7,000 per year, right? So we hold it for 5 years. So that's about $35,000, right? So
Okay.
they would have already got that $35,000, right? And then when we sell it, what we do is once we sell the property, we will then go ahead and pay off the mortgage, pay off any of the accounts payable, pay off the principal amount that we had taken from the investors, and whatever is left, that will be divided 70-30.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right?
Very easy.
And yeah, pretty much. So basically now all we are doing is taking that 70%, giving it to them, and say that 70% comes down to that entire whole number of 100,000. So that number and that $35,000 together makes it $100,000. So that's pretty much where you 2x their money.
Okay. Now, is there a certain amount? How many investors do you typically have per property that you're looking for?
It depends from property to property. Say, for example, if you're raising a $7 million, if you're doing a $7 million raise for a $15 million property, you're looking at somewhere close to, you know, anywhere between 80 to 90 investors.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then what would be if someone wants to, what's a minimal amount that you guys look for someone to invest or get involved?
Okay. So for all of our syndications, we do is minimum is $50,000 is the minimum.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that we learned is that a lot of people want to invest into passive investments, but they don't have that opportunity to invest because 50,000 is a lot of money for a lot of them,
Sure.
right? So to make it simple, what we've done is we've started off with what is called as a four corner club, and to become a club member, it's only $10,000. And what we are doing in this one is we take that club money and we invest in syndications. And what we do is we give our investors a minimum of 7% annualized, and based on how profitable the investment is, we can go up to 14%. So but they can definitely get 7%.
Okay. And then as that grows, they can reinvest and
They
make
can,
more is
yes.
typically how they do it. Very
Yeah.
cool. Is that a common thing or is that something that you guys came up with? I don't know if I've heard of
This is
that
something that
before.
we came up with. This is something that we came up with. Yeah.
That's very cool. Kind of gives more people a chance to get a seat at the table and
Correct.
start building.
They're
Now,
passive. Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. So if someone invests, say $50,000, right? The goal then would be like when they are get out of that investment, they're walking away with 100,000 is kind of
Yeah.
what we're looking at.
50,000 of their own money and 50,000 that came on top of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting it back and then the 50,000 on it. That's very cool, man. And I think that's an awesome thing you guys are doing to kind of that definitely hit that club thing. It probably makes it a lot, you are able to find a lot more people.
Yes. That was the goal behind it, was to make it affordable for a lot of those who, do not have that $50,000 with them. And they want to try it out as to see, hey, what does passive income look like? Because if they have that $10,000 and they don't have any other place to invest it in, and they just invest it in a stock, which is a very volatile compared to if they invest with us in the four corners. It is a secure thing. Um, it gives better than what the bank would give you on that
Mhm.
$10,000.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like to me that you guys, another key here, not only that making it very accessible for more people, but also it doesn't seem like you guys are that greedy with what you're doing. Would you say that that is a big key? Because I've in my real estate career, I've worked with investors, and I'd have done some capital raising for investors and or for builders, and they preach about this and that and the other, but then when you bring money to the table and it's there and it's in black and white, now they start getting trying to get greedy and it blows the whole thing up. So would you say that that's a key is not getting greedy?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think doing what is right is the key to everything, right?
100%.
Doing what is right for your investors, that's the key. Because your investors are your lifeblood. That's pretty much what it is, right? If you cheat on your investors, you're the one who are literally taking an axe and hitting your foot on that. So that's
Sure.
pretty much what it is. So try to be open, try to tell them exactly what it is. And, you know, whether it is good news, bad news, whatever that is, just
Mhm.
let them know this is what it is. This is what we're trying to do. And, do the right thing. That's all I can say. Do the right thing. To me, it is like, you know, do the right thing to your investors, do the right thing to the people who are renting your property, because give them that, their money's worth. That is the key.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Money will come. So that's pretty much what.
Exactly. And then, when you do the right thing, money comes and then you can go quicker ultimately build faster. You feel better about what you're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No,
uh,
it feels good when we go to our properties and when we interact with the tenants. We ask them questions like, "Hey, are you happy? How's the thing going?" There are times when we get involved in their, sad thing. Like for example, last December, one of my properties in Texas, we went there. We saw that there was this one lady who was very hardworking. She was a single mother who had two kids. She Her car was broken down. She could not go to work because of that. So, you know, we wanted her to have a good Christmas. So we went there. We waived off her 1 month's rent. We gave her. She needed some $300 to fix her car. We gave her $300. We got all the gifts for the kids,
that's
right?
awesome.
So it feels good to see that your tenants are happy, they're doing well, and so on. So
That's awesome, man. I want to backtrack to the club thing you guys do. It's very intriguing to me. So if someone wants to be a club member, is that the right
yeah,
nomenclature? So
that's the right
a
idea.
club member and they shoot over $10,000, what kind of residual or passive income do they see from that, and how long does it take for them to start seeing it?
They start day one. So right from day one, it's 7% annualized that they get for sure.
Okay,
And then based on how the returns would be on some of our investments,
it could be 14.
we could take it up to 14%.
Okay. And what would you say the average is on that 7 to 14? Where would you say it typically
Uh,
falls? Is there
it definitely falls around at least 10.
okay. So if someone's investing 10,000, they're seeing a thousand dollars
$1,000
annually.
annually. Yeah. Mhm.
Interesting. So it takes a while to build up to that 50 that way, but it definitely gets you in the door.
Well, the thing is, one thing is not, I think the best part about that is they have $10,000. People are asking for $50,000 minimum for syndications. They keep it in the bank. They're getting what, 0.5% or 1% on that one.
Right.
Here, they're having an opportunity to, it's not only $1,000, right? If the person is, say, there's a $10,000, and he makes it a thought process that every year I'm going to put in $10,000, right? So now that's 10 plus 10, that's now 20,000. Now it's gone from only $1,000 to $2,000. Now that has become $22,000 for you.
Right.
Then the following year, he puts in another. Now he pulls all of his money back. While all along this was making money for him. Now he puts it in a big syndication.
Right. So
It's
you're
a
putting
profit.
it, so you're getting the 10, but then with the 10%, it's really $11,000 that you're seeing. Okay. That's great, man. That's a really cool thing that you guys are doing for people there. And then how many club members do you currently have? How
Well,
popular is
we just
that?
got started on this one. We're just getting started. So we don't have any yet, but we are starting it now.
Oh,
And
okay.
we're trying to reach out to people now
Oh,
because
okay.
it took us a while to put everything together because we want to make sure that we can guarantee these guys that 7%, right? So you have to put together everything before you can say that this is what we can do.
Sure. And so you yeah, I think that's amazing. And so this is breaking news on here. People, they got a brand new club.
Yes, yes, it is.
uh get involved. That's awesome. So when that gets going, I mean, if you got enough people at $10,000, you could might even be able to fund a whole project for that, or however you.
You would never want to do that.
Oh, really?
You want to take the entire project and buy it with that same money because it is expensive money. Remember,
Mhm.
because you got to give your returns to your investors. So
Gotcha.
at the end of the day, you still want to leverage it with the bank. You're giving the bank 5% or 5.5% versus you're giving these guys 10%
Sure.
or
Okay.
10%, right?
Gotcha. Very cool. So what in for blue ring investors, what's the future look like for you guys? Where are you headed? What kind of stuff are you currently working on? I mean, you said you've got a lot of, most of your most your multifamily you said are 200 units or a lot.
100 to 200 units. When I started off, there were a couple of things we did strategically. When we started off, we had seen that the market was getting really, really hot. People were
Oh
paying
yeah,
crazy amounts of money. Uh,
2021 was nuts.
yeah, everybody wanted to go ahead and put the money going hard day one, earnest money going hard day one. They were asking crazy numbers when it came down to the opportunities. So we decided at that time to go with smaller units because smaller units had less competition because everyone wanted to go after 100, 200, 500 unit properties, right? So we went small at that time. We went with 60 units, 70 unit properties.
Okay.
The smallest one I have is 35 unit property. So we did those, right? Because there was less competition, but we bought those closer to each other so that we could leverage with our property management company that, now because you have 35 and the other one is a 40 unit. So now you have 70 units right there, right? So
Yeah,
we did that.
smart.
Um, then as the market started getting better and things started calming down, we started going after bigger properties.
Interesting. Yeah, because it was absolutely nuts. Around here we had neighborhoods with homes that are, these track homes, and it's all very, um, you know, little boxes on the hillside. They It was crazy. These homes, it's like they wanted $2 million for this house that they probably paid 400,000 for. I'm like, I would never pay $2 million for this house. It's insane. And they have like five offers at once. And you're going, and I just wonder how many people are kicking themselves now. Either they're kicking themselves or they're happy because they've got a 3% interest rate and they're sitting there um, on this
It's
house.
true. That is true. See, the thing about real estate is this. The way I look at it is it's like a cycle, right?
Yep.
You cannot go wrong. Like if you have the power to hold on to that property, then it's a cycle. It'll come back. It'll always come back. And
Yep.
as I said, it's a low risk. Um, it'll take a little bit longer, but it'll come back.
It always comes back, right? And that's something like, like our house, take for example. And this is a thing around here, where it's hard because now with where the interest rates where they are, our house, we built our house for $360,000. And then I think peak 2021, we could have gotten like almost 900,000 for it. But my wife's like, whoa, I'm like, but look at this. Where are we going to go? We're going to get half the house for twice the money. and and then it's like, okay, well, let's wait. And now we wait, and it's worth more than double what we paid,
Yeah.
what we built it for. But it's like we've got a 2.9% interest rate, and it's like now if we go somewhere, we're going to have a 7% interest rate or a 6% interest rate, and we're going to be paying double what it's worth in principal, in anyway with interest. We're going to pay double what it's worth in interest. And because we have some friends, they bought a little house and it's X amount of dollars, but they're going to pay, if it's a $400,000 house, they're going to pay twice as they're going to end up going to pay 800,000 after they get through all the interest on it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So I get, it's just that timing of it, they're really holding these interest rates hostage right now. It's killing me. But maybe they'll let it go here. I heard the guy's getting fired. That's kind of stopping him from bringing down the interest rates. I think he's on the I think he's on the chopping block, which would be a good thing. How much do those factors play to you guys' investments? Is that as prevalent as it is in like residential single family home?
Well, interest rates are interest rates.
Right.
It's all about uh, doing a couple of things. I think number one is the numbers needs to add up.
Yeah.
That's the key thing, right? Um, the second part about it is how you're going to structure the entire deal. That's the main thing. Um, for us, it's all about improving the net operating income of the property and increasing the value of the property by doing some forced appreciation by making all the improvements that we said that we're going to do. right? So we do the improvements that we are going to do. We raise the rents as we did, but while you're underwriting, make sure that be as realistic as possible. Don't think I'm going to give a year-on-year increase of 20%,
Right.
right? Uh, because you don't know if the market can even handle that, right?
Sure.
So be conservative with your underwriting. So when all those things happen, it works out well. Like for example, in 2023, we closed on only one deal. That's it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
That's
only one
crazy.
deal. It's because if the numbers don't add up, we are not in the we are not in this business to just make money, right? We are
Sure.
in the business of making money for our investors.
Right.
So if we
That's
are
great.
not able to do that or we cannot deliver on our promise, then we don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's a really good mindset to have. And I feel like a lot of people get, like I said before, get greedy and get lost in it. And then it can kind of fall down around you a
Yeah,
little bit. You get over leveraged and promise too much.
yeah,
And then there goes your credibility and their trust, right?
yeah.
Which again, you said it earlier, trust, you got to build that trust. And that's all of it. That really is.
No, like for example, I see a lot of people are right now going through foreclosures in the multifamily industry. The reasons behind it is because they, to make the numbers work, okay, they did a lot of things. A lot of them have gone with 90-10, where 90% of the profits would go to the investors, 10% would go to these guys. They would cut down on their acquisition fees and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process, what happens? In the process, all these guys, when the interest rates went up and they were not able to deliver on anything, these guys were not able to even get things done properly. They did not upgrade the property as they said that they would do. They didn't have enough capex money because a lot of the money that they had was going towards the building and so on, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't raise enough to begin with. Now the interest rates have gone up. They did not make any money. There is no wiggle room for them,
Right.
right? So that's why they're suffocating. And now that's where it is going on. To me, it is very simple. Yes, I want to make my investors money, but I also want to make money,
Yeah.
right? So, if that doesn't happen, if the numbers don't make sense, then don't do that business. Don't go just for the sake of bragging, oh, I have like 2,000 doors and things like that. It doesn't help. If
Right.
you can have 2,000 doors and you're not making money, what's the point?
Exactly. That's yeah, exactly. What is the point? So you guys, you obviously take very good care of your investors, and then the things you're doing for your tenants is very good. When you're looking to sell a property, what what's your process there in terms of who you're selling? Are you particular with who you sell it to? Because I'm sure with you taking such good care of your tenants, you want to make sure that it stays that way, or because they have a certain standard, and when you sell it, you know, that's obviously going to change. They're probably sad to see you go. Um, what's your process there?
Well, the process is basically we first might want to make sure that these guys actually have the experience, they have the ability to close on the deal, you know, and they're
Mm-hmm.
going to take good care of the property. So basically, this industry is a there are a lot of people in this industry, but then if you really look at it, it's a pretty small community. Everybody knows everybody in this to a large extent,
Sure.
right? You would have met them at some event, some networking event, and so on. And you'll see that the more you stay in this business, you'll see the same people coming to those networking events.
Yeah.
So you build that relationship, you understand, like, what their style is, what they've been doing. Bad news travels fast. So something that they've done doesn't go with your principles. You know,
Okay.
right?
So it's a
So
lot of the same people you're dealing with. So you kind of know
yeah.
you know them personally, and you know they're going to do a good job with taking care of these people. That's awesome. Because that would definitely be, if I was a tenant, I've heard it's being sold, that would definitely be an alarm bell in my head, like, oh no, what's going to happen to the building? What's going to happen? Are we going to be able to get things fixed? And is it going to be upkept and all those kind of good things, right? So that's awesome. And it sounds like to me, it's something I preach to people that I coach and all kinds of different things is it goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning, doing what you're passionate about, doing what you love. And the money is a side effect of doing good work, right? And the money's gonna you're gonna make money if you're gonna make more money in the long run doing a good job and taking care of people, and letting the money be a side effect. Like, whether it's real estate, whether it's if you're a musician, whether what a director, right? You want to make a great movie and let the money be a side effect of the success of making a great movie, right? And that seems like that's kind of where you guys are geared towards.
Yep. Do good to the community, do right to your tenants, and take care of your investors. That's the key to this
100%.
investment.
And then, good karma. uh
Yep,
Good
pretty
karma.
much.
And which is this is awesome. So what's the future for Blue Ring Investors? Where are you guys going? You obviously have something very awesome going on. You've got a ton of business. What's the future look like? What's your next moves?
Well, yeah, keep growing. That's definitely the case. Obviously, sometime in the future, I would definitely like to get more into senior housing,
Okay.
ground up construction, so on for the senior housing, because there is a huge deficit for senior housing. So I'd like to do something, get myself into that.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, that's the next thing that we plan on doing. Obviously, we are trying to get more investors, both within the United States as well as from abroad. So working with some of them to see if we can have investors coming from Dubai and India.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely a lot of money over there. And when I was raising capital, talked to a few people that had a lot of money coming from over there. And but the problem with that is in Florida, there's a lot of red tape with that. You can't have There's a whole list now of countries that can't buy property here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it is in the other states, but here that's the case. And Middle East is definitely on that list in Florida. So the that's awesome, and I think what you're doing is awesome. So when you talk, quick question on the senior living, are you talking about, just like 55 and over large places, or are you talking about like memory care facilities, hospice facilities? What kind of places are you looking at?
Well, yeah. We I'm talking about more of senior housing, which is like 50 and older. That's one part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And also assisted living kind of a
Okay.
thing.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, there's definitely a shortage of that. And with the way it is right now, especially here after all these storms, a lot of these seniors have lived in their home for, 40 years, and now it got destroyed, and now they have to get reassessed, and now they can't afford the property tax anymore. They can't, because it's not a $200,000 house, it's a
Yep.
$2 million house.
Correct.
And yeah, they're left with just holding this bag of where do I go? What can I do? It's really unfortunate, but again, it's just the way of the world, and that's how it all goes around. So if people want to, you mentioned earlier, we've got your QR code here that people can scan if they want to get in touch. What is the best way? Go to your website or?
Yeah, go to www.blueringinvestors.com. Also, if they want to go to Four Corners, it is www.4, as in letter 4, ci.club. So it's that. And obviously, they can reach out to me, on Calendly. If you want, my telephone number is 828-391-4805. So they
Okay.
can reach me on my cell phone as well. But website is the best way to reach.
Okay. And you guys have social media or anything like that you do?
So, yep, we are on Instagram, Facebook. We are on X. Twitter is the next thing that we would like to get ourselves into. So that's something that is it's in the works. So we are on LinkedIn as well. So yeah.
Mhm. That's awesome, man. I really appreciate your time, and it's awesome to hear what you guys were doing. When you reached out, I started looking at the company, and everything, and it seems like you guys are top notch in everything you're doing. You're trying to do, and now after talking to you, it confirms my suspicion that you're trying to do what's best for your investors. And seems like you guys are easy to work with, and your values are in the right place, which is a rare thing in this world. And that's why I was excited to talk to you when
You,
you
I
reached
appreciate
out to
you
me.
taking your time.
And
No problem.
I appreciate you listening to other episodes. If you think you mentioned you maybe heard a couple. Yeah, I just really appreciate it, and love what you
Thank
guys are
you.
doing, and might have to check out the website myself and dive in with you guys a little bit, get involved.
Awesome. Thank you.
So,
Thank you, and I really appreciate you and your time. And I hope I was able to bring some value to your listeners.
oh, absolutely. I think there's a ton of people again looking for ways to make passive income because the family and doing things and having time to live is becoming more and more a priority, with people, mental health, and just the way the culture is shifting here in the United States, and technology and all that. Oh, speaking of technology, before I let you go, I did have one follow-up question here. AI, how is AI impacting y'all's business? Is that something that you're looking to implement? Is it making any kind of impact in your industry?
Well, yes and no. Obviously, it definitely helps when it comes down to newsletters. So that
Yeah,
um, obviously implementing it to kind of get some matrices to understand, you know, when you're analyzing a deal, it definitely kind of gives you um, different sides of things
sure,
to consider. But I would not want a machine like an AI to do the entire thing because I would personally would like to actually use my expertise as well to actually narrow things down. But it definitely helps from to get some of the things, but not the entire thing.
sure. Yeah, because I mean, with investing, especially real estate, I feel like there's definitely a human intuition aspect that
Correct.
comes from experience and being the consummate professional and having that experience in the field that maybe goes beyond just straight logic all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of
No,
that.
it definitely helps on a lot of these other things, like as I said, newsletters,
Oh yeah,
and putting things together. There are a lot of those things are good, but when it comes down to the actual thing, when it comes down to underwriting, I would do that myself.
yeah, a lot more hands on. Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for your time, and I hope any people listening to this can definitely they can 100% bring value from it, but hopefully maybe it inspires them to take action towards financial freedom, as
There you
you
go.
see there. So again, I really appreciate your time, sir. And down the road, maybe we'll have you on again, check in, see how you guys are doing, see how the new club system's going and all that kind of stuff.
Definitely, definitely.
I'd be happy to talk to you. Well, thank you again, guys. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate you again. Shout out to AME Media making all this possible, giving me the ability to bring you high quality content like this. And also, please check out our Extra Reverb shop. We've got some great gear on there, and all proceeds do go to various charities to help veterans in need. So, really appreciate you guys checking that out. Thank you. And until next time, peace out.